Welcome to Live with Anton Gunn. Today is Wednesday, 2 p.m. East Coast time, 11 a.m. Pacific. Everybody in the Central time zone and the Mountain time zone, you know it's time to get in where you fit in. I'm excited about being with you back in my office today. You know, last week I was not in my office. I was actually traveling on the road. Just finished a great 2-day leadership development session with an organization. But now I'm back in my office, and today I want to do something, and I'm starting to do a lot more of these kinds of subjects, if you will, that I get asked a lot of times, different questions when I'm on the road, when people are on their teams and they're struggling with things, they ask me questions. And I got asked a question about our team is not perfect, and I wish we had a perfect team. And so it gave me the great idea to do a session this week on how to build the perfect team. Now, when I usually say perfect team, or when we think about perfect teams, we always go to teams in sports. Like we start thinking about, let's use the example of the 1972 Miami Dolphins. This was a National Football League team who didn't lose a game the entire season. They had a perfect season. And so some people will tell you that they're the perfect team. But then you have other people who would say the Buffalo Bill teams from the early 1990s who went to 4 straight Super Bowls was pretty doggone perfect, even though they came up short and didn't win the Super Bowl. But otherwise, they might have been considered a perfect team. You have other teams that have gone 15-1 in the NFL. They only lost one game. And let us not talk about the countless number of college football teams who've had undefeated seasons, 13-0 all the way through the bowl game. But in many sports, it is incredibly difficult for a team to go totally undefeated and never lose a single game. Like the Chicago Bulls of the 1990s, who went 72-10. They lost only 10 games over an 82-game season, and of course, went on to win the championship. There are some other teams like the Golden State Warriors who literally did their best to beat the Chicago Bulls record, and I actually think they did beat the Chicago Bulls record. So I'm diving too deep in sports at this point in time, so I'm going to pull back from that. But the point is, people are asking, how do you build a perfect team? How do you create the perfect team? Well, the first thing I want you to understand, and I want you to get this real clearly, that there is no cookie cutter same approach for the perfect team in your organization versus the perfect team in another organization. Why? Because the environments are different. Your products and services are different from another's products and services. Your location to deliver those services is different than another organization's location to deliver those services. Most importantly, you know wholeheartedly you don't have the exact same people. Those people might have some of the same skill sets, some of the same experiences, some of the same background, but they are not the same. So when you say perfect team, or when I say perfect team, I want you to understand the perfect team is the perfect team for what you need that team to be perfect for. It's not by anybody else's standards. It's not by anybody else's metrics or measuring stick. It's about what do you need the team to be perfect for, which really underscores what I want to talk about. And that is the characteristics that make a team great, or the characteristics of how you can build a perfect team. What are the things that you need in place if you want to build a perfect team? Now, I'm going to take a lot of this content from my toolkit, the Just Lead Toolkit. I've told you about it before. I'm going to tell you about it again. If you go to antongunn.com/toolkit, all one word, toolkit, and you can download the Just Lead Toolkit, which will give you some of the lessons that I'm going to teach really on how great teams succeed. I also have a workshop or a course on how to build great teams. Well, I'm going to give you some of those items right here in this session, live and direct for you for free, because you made the decision to tune in. And if you have a comment or a question or something that you want to ask, by all means, Ask it, because I really want to make sure that we get to these foundational characteristics of the perfect team. So let me start at the top. And the top always starts with leadership. You've heard me say it before, and you've heard John Maxwell say, as a matter of fact, the first person that I really took ownership who said this following phrase was John Maxwell. And that is, everything rises and falls on leadership. So if you want to build a perfect team, then you have to understand you have to have a perfect leadership culture. Note that I didn't say perfect leader, because there's no such thing as a perfect leader. It's only a perfect leadership culture. Now, here are some characteristics of a perfect leadership culture. Number one, that leader knows what they know, but they don't know everything. You have to have a culture where every leader knows that their job is to learn every day, that they don't have all of the answers, that every circumstance and situation is going to change, and so that they need to change with it, that they have to have the capacity to increase their competency. A leadership culture of a perfect team is one that always has the capacity to increase their competency, which is, you know what you know, but you also know what you don't know. And you are desiring to learn. So if you want to start the foundation of building a perfect team, you got to start with a learning culture. The second thing that you have to have from a leadership standpoint, if you want to build a perfect team, you got to have these characteristics, is you have to have a leader who cares about the people that they lead. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say this, and I'm going to say it until I don't get blue in the face. But if I could get blue in the face, I would say this till I'm blue in the face. And that is, if you are a leader that doesn't care about the people that you lead, then you won't have a team. You won't ever have a team. You have a bunch of individuals who are showing up for selfish reasons, not connected to you or not connected to a bigger mission. So I want you to understand, you need to care about the people that you lead. But guess what? It's really hard to care about people unless you know them. So if you want to build the characteristics of a perfect team, then you got to have a leadership culture where the leader strives to get to know the people on the team and demonstrate that knowledge by showing them that you care about them. That's the cornerstone of leadership, the cornerstone of that kind of culture. If you want to build a perfect team, you got to have a leader and a team of leaders who cares. So a leader at every level needs to care. CEO needs to care. The COO needs to care. The whole C-suite needs to care. But every VP, director, supervisor, and manager also needs to care about the people. It has to be a culture that permeates everything. And again, last week, I told you culture influences behavior. And so if you have a culture where leaders are learning, where leaders are caring and are striving to get to know that, then every employee is going to embody that same kind of approach to your organization. So I hope we're real clear that foundation number one, if you want to build a perfect team, you got to have a leadership culture that's focused on people who are willing to learn, listen, and to show that they care about the people that they lead because they know the people on the team. All right. I know there was a lot to unpack there, but I think it's important to spend that time talking about leadership because I want you to understand that leadership is everything. Everything rises and falls on leadership. That's step one. Now, here's a second building block, if you will, to building a perfect team. The second building block to building a perfect team is communication. That's right, communication. Now, when I say communication, I want you to understand that all great teams know how to communicate and communicate effectively. They really do understand that they have a shared language. If you think about cultures and communities around the world, if you can travel to any of the deepest regions in the Amazon, or if you travel to different countries around the world, different communities, you will know that the people in the most tight-knit communities, they have a common language, a language in which they all understand each other intimately in everything that they say. Like, I was doing some family research over the years, and I learned that I'm attached to the Bisa people who are currently in Burkina Faso. That's where their native home country. That's the tribe that my ancestors came from. My formerly enslaved ancestors, that now I'm the embodiment of their freedom. They date back 500 to 2,000 years ago to the Bisa people. Well, the Bisa people have a common language in which they share. They have common ways in which they talk to each other that if you were not Bisa, you wouldn't understand them. So my question is, on your team, do you have a common language that everybody understands? Are you using the same terms? When you add somebody to the team, are you teaching them the language and how you choose to communicate? Are you getting them bought in to the words that they need to be bought into? That's my question. And if you want to build a perfect team, you got to have a team that's tight on their communication. I mean, go back to the sports teams. We know in football, all teams have a language that they use, how they refer to positions, whether it's the X receiver, the Y receiver, the Z receiver, whether it's the running back, whether we're on the left hash or the right hash. Now, again, I'm getting too esoteric on football, but I want you to know that there's a shared language in football. And the people who played football before, they know some of that shared language. But I can tell you that if you play football for Alabama, they have a different language than South Carolina does. And South Carolina has a different language than Clemson does. And Clemson has a different language than Miami does. But everybody that's on that team, if they want to be perfect, they have to understand the language. So for you in your organization, your company, do you use a language internally? And is everybody up to speed what all of the terms mean, the acronyms? Because so many of us work in organizations that we have acronyms upon acronyms. And if you don't give people like a guidebook of what the acronym means when they join the organization, it'll take them a year to figure it out. They won't be productive. They won't be the perfect addition to the team because they're still guessing and trying to figure out, what does AAAS mean? Or what does EEOC mean? Or what does DDJOC mean? They don't have any clue of what these acronyms mean. So you got to get clear about your communication and to make sure that you communicate flawlessly on your team. That's the second cornerstone. The third cornerstone of how you build a successful team, this is really foundational traits, is a team needs to have accountability. And that is, everybody need to understand, what are the guardrails? Like, if I color outside these lines, I'm going to be punished for that or held accountable for that. And what does the accountability look like? Like, you got to have accountability where people are going to be held accountable for when they do things right, and they're going to be held accountable when they do things wrong. And everybody should know what that accountability is. There shouldn't be any guessing. There shouldn't be any hypocrisy, which is, some of us are held accountable, but others of us get to do whatever the heck we want to do and have zero accountability. That some of us have to follow rules and others of us don't have to follow those rules. That's an environment where you're not going to build a perfect team if only some of the people have to follow the rules and everybody else can do what they want to do, or vice versa. You won't ever build a perfect team. Now, what do I mean? Some follow the rules. I'm literally saying, like, if you do things the wrong way, will you be accepted for doing things the wrong way? Or if you did things the wrong way, would you be punished? I'm not talking about not allowing people to innovate. Like, you should be able to create new opportunities for yourself. But if things go wrong, there should be some accountability. Maybe that accountability is just, you have to now come and tell everybody what you did wrong so we can all learn from it. It doesn't always have to be punishment. It really just might be education and learning. That's what we do in organizations who follow the just culture model, is that we counsel and coach people up when they make mistakes. We don't always punish mistakes. It's called workplace accountability, and just culture is the model that I've learned and been certified in. So you literally want to understand that accountability has to be a part of building the perfect team. Now, here's the next thing that I want you to understand is instrumental to having a perfect team, and that is trust. Trust is essential. Trust means that you can believe and rely on the information and the application in the organization or whatever anybody on that team gives you. Like you can rely that they're going to be where they say they're going to be, and things are going to look like they're supposed to look, and they're going to work the way that they're supposed to work. So if I said to you, I'm going to get this report to you by 2 p.m. East Coast time, then at 2 p.m. East Coast time, you should expect and trust that a report is going to be in your inbox or on your desk. That's trust. Now, there's so many other layers of trust that we know we can unpack. Do you trust the people that are on the team? Do you feel like they have your back? Do you feel like that they're going to be honest and ethical every time? Do you feel like that if something goes wrong, that they're going to treat you with dignity and respect, or they just going to throw you under the bus and laugh at you? Are they going to try to embarrass you? This is not a trusting organization if you're embarrassing people and throwing people under the bus. That's not a good place to be. So you want to have trust in your organization. And let me give you this point. Trust takes time to earn. You're never going to get trust overnight. Trust takes a long time to build. And over and over and over again, you got to show yourself worthy of having that trust. But once you got the trust, you got to keep it. And it only takes one mistake, one error for you to destroy the trust in an organization. But the perfect teams, they know how to build trust. They know how to strengthen trust. They know how to increase trust. And guess what? If something bad happens and things go wrong, they don't lose the trust because they have clear communication, accountability, and leadership about how to manage when things go wrong. That is the next characteristic of a perfect team. Now, the last characteristic of a perfect team, and this is all in the Just Lead Toolkit. Go to antongunn.com/just lead. antongunn.com/toolkit. Again, I'm going to repeat one more time. Go to antongunn.com/toolkit if you want the toolkit. So the last thing that all perfect teams have, if you want to build a perfect team, you got to have a game plan. You got to have a clear vision and goal for what you hope to accomplish as a team. You can't have just individual game plans that I'm here to get my bonus, or I'm here to get a 5.0 in this evaluation, or I'm here just to finish this one project. How does that one project fit into the overall scheme of the organization, the company, the vision of where you're trying to go? Do you even know what that vision is? If you don't know the vision, then you can't have a game plan. You just only focus on your individuality. And the perfect teams are the ones that have a clear, consistent game plan where everybody knows where we're trying to go, what we're trying to accomplish, and what their role is in making the game plan a reality, to making sure that game plan is executed to its fullest. Those are the cornerstones of how to build a perfect team. It starts with leadership. You got to have great communication. You got to have the highest levels of accountability. You got to build it on trust. And you got to have a game plan with goals that everybody is going to try to achieve together. Again, the key word is together. And we all know what team, the acronym that we use in business or in sports about team, and that is TEAM, together, everyone accomplishes more. Well, I'm telling you, if you want to build a perfect team, more will be the least of the things that you will accomplish. You will accomplish greatness because you understand that how to build that perfect team requires trust, communication, accountability, game plan, and most importantly, leadership. So with that, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like this, please share it with somebody. Please send it to someone so they can get some value out of this, because I want to make sure that I help you and your organization to succeed. If you feel like it would be great to have this message or some other kind of message for you and your team, I'd be happy to come and share this message inside your organization. I'm totally on board with coming to speak to you and your team to help you build the perfect team. So with that, I want to thank y'all for watching. Everybody have a fantastic day, and we'll talk next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel on Wu-Tang Wednesday. That's today. The Wu-Tang Wednesday is every Wednesday in my book. So everybody have a fantastic day. Take care.